Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, we're talking about Game Boy emulation with SameBoy. Now if you're on iOS, you're probably going to like this brand new update, which is version 0.16.7. So they say here it's now possible to cycle between different main cameras on supported iPhone models in the iOS front end. The iOS front end now can directly open zip archives. ROMs can now be deleted from the iOS library using a context menu. The Homebrew hub on the iOS front end was moved to a tab, and a new flat CRT filter is now available. SameBoy is 100% free, it's open source, and like all of my news, the link will be in the description below. My news is 100% open source, I don't hide my sources. Next up, we're talking about a big win for game preservation. 9 Capcom iMode games have been preserved. Now, I haven't played any of these, but if you've ever played an iMode game, let me know in the comments below. So here's the full list of iMode games that have been preserved. We've got UN Squadron, Biohazard ATN, Ghouls and Ghosts, Devil May Cry Deadshot, Devil May Cry Dante X Virgil, Warriors of Fate, Rockman X, Hajimari no Dukutsu, I might have mispronounced that one, and Your Planet. Although these are kind of niche games and probably won't appeal to a whole bunch of people, I think that Devil May Cry Deadshot here is a hidden gem. I mean, yeah, it doesn't look that great, but back in the day, this would have been awesome and something I would have played the heck out of. Next up, we're talking about Super Mario 64, and this is a fun and quick one, pun intended. Someone beat Super Mario 64 in less than 20 minutes, in 19 minutes and 45 seconds, blindfolded. If they didn't stream this, I wouldn't have believed it, but Bubsia here beat the game in 19 minutes and 45 seconds, which I think is absolutely crazy. I mean, I struggle getting through the game quickly, not blindfolded. Blindfolded is a whole different ball game. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. And speaking about N64, next up here we're talking about a brand new book from Sean RGT85 Long. You probably know him from his YouTube channel. He's released this book called The Art of N64 Wrestling Games. Now, I loved N64 wrestling games back in the day, especially WrestleMania 2000, which I don't think was the most popular one, but I liked it. Anyways, this may be a big nostalgia trip for a lot of people, and there's a lot of great information in that book. So in this book, RGT85 covers every single N64 wrestling game. There's stories from wrestlers in there as well, and one of the big reasons I wanted to cover this is because it also contains ROM hacks, which I find to be pretty awesome. Next up, we're talking about Horizon Zero Dawn and Epic Games, and this one's a little bit controversial. So Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered is a remaster of Horizon Zero Dawn, which is kind of crazy given the fact that Horizon Zero Dawn isn't that old. I mean, the complete edition here launched on the Epic Games Store back in 2020, so like 4 years ago. Anyways, here the Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition has been delisted from the Epic Games Store. You can no longer buy it. However, Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, which releases at the end of October here, is up for pre-order and for full price. Now, interestingly, if I head on over to Steam, I'm getting a different but similar issue. So here's Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition. And the price for the bundle, which is the remastered bundle, is $64.99, which is the exact same price as the Epic Games Store. However, if I click on bundle info, Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition is listed at $50 Canadian with the remastered upgrade at $15. But I can't just select the Complete Edition. That brings me right back to the Steam Store page where I can only pick up the bundle. And if I add this to cart, I cannot remove the remastered upgrade. So I guess the big difference between Steam and Epic, unless I'm misunderstanding something, is that on Steam you can still pick up the old game, but it is automatically bundled in with that remastered version. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. Do you think that Steam took the right approach here by at least giving access to the older game? Or do you think this is kind of shady considering you can now no longer purchase the original game, it automatically comes with the remaster? Next up, if you're a fan of fan translations, you might be a fan of this video here. It's the monthly game fan translation recap for September. And there's a whole bunch of great games in there, some we've talked about in previous videos and some we haven't. This recap has 15 games in total. They're all time-stamped and will give you a good idea of what the translations look like. And there might be some games in there you haven't played before. Next up, if you've got a PS5 Pro on the way and you're a fan of Diablo, you're going to be a fan of this news here. So Rod Ferguson says, I've been getting this question quite a bit recently, and I'm happy to say that Diablo 4 and Vessel of Hatred will indeed be PS5 Pro enhanced. Very proud of our hardworking team to make this happen. So for those who may not be aware, Rod Ferguson stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano, and they're the SVP GM of all things Diablo at Blizzard. So this is huge news for Diablo. And speaking about game development, next up we're talking about From Software, you know, the company behind Elden Ring. Anyways, in a world of video game layoffs and cuts and, well, firings and closing downs and all of that stuff, From Software seems to be taking a bit of a different approach right now, and I would say a shining light in a sea of, well, not light things. Anyways, here they say, as part of our efforts to create a rewarding working environment, From Software will be raising base salaries and starting salaries for new graduates. We will continue to work on game development to provide our users with even more excitement and valuable games. Well, good on From Software. Moving on, and this one's a big one for Linux. So UMU, which stands for, well, you know what it stands for. Anyways, it's a unified Linux wine game launcher, and it just got its very first release. So the description of UMU reads as follows. This is a unified launcher for Windows games on Linux. It is essentially a copy of the Steam runtime tools and Steam Linux runtime that Valve uses for Proton, with some modifications made so that it can be used outside of Steam. So at the time of filming, release 1.1.1 is the first release and latest update. And they say it should work inside both Flatpak and Snap, but they don't have official builds for Flatpak or Snap just yet. They have instructions to build your own and use them. So if you don't know how to build, or if you don't feel like building, well, there are instructions there, but you can always wait. And I'm assuming this is going to get a Flatpak and Snap release fairly soon. Let me know your thoughts about UMU in the comments below. Is this something you're interested in? Next up, we're talking about Orphan Age, and this is horrible news if you were a fan of this game, if you were expecting it, and if you backed it on Kickstarter. So this game was successfully backed on Kickstarter a number of years ago. It does have its own Steam store page, but it hasn't released. And I don't think this game is ever going to release. So the developers of this game have posted a news update over on Steam, and things are not looking good. They say the last few months they've been going through bankruptcy procedures in France. This started when communication broke down between them and their publisher, leading to payments not continuing. Alas, with their publisher not continued funding and no other sources of continued funding to finalize the game, the French government has elected to shut down the studio effective immediately. Now you may ask, how soon is immediately? Well, they really mean immediately. They say, like, at the end of the workday today, we cannot legally continue working. So with that, we are deeply saddened to announce the end of our time working on the development of Orphan Age, and that Studio Black Flag will no longer be sailing at the end of this month. Now, if you back this project on Kickstarter, it seems like you're out of luck here. They say, unfortunately, the money contributed through our crowdfunding campaign has long since been spent. And the nature of utilizing a platform like that is there, and an inherent risk of receiving a return on your investment. We wish this wasn't the case, but unfortunately, backing a product that isn't out is an inherently risky investment. And with Orphan Age, the risk didn't pay off. Now, they do say they're exploring options to release their most finalized build of Orphan Age to the community, but there's some legal issues they need to explore before confirming. For full clarity, this will not be anything approaching a final polished product, but it will be significantly further along than their previously released demo. Now, unfortunately, I don't know the behind-the-scenes story on this one, but based on what I'm reading here, and well, the conclusions I'm drawing are that the publisher is the problem, and this whole thing was canceled because of the publisher. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's not what the story is saying. They aren't able to get into specifics of the contract either to see if they can get with another publisher. It seems now the publisher owns the rights to the game. Next up, we're talking about another win for video game preservation, and this is Garfield Caught in the Act, The Lost Levels. So The Lost Levels is a game that was exclusive to Sega's paid Sega Channel service on the Sega Genesis and Sega Mega Drive, and now it has been preserved. So The Lost Levels contains 3 levels that were cut from the final version of the game, and it was playable at this year's Portland Retro Gaming Expo. And the person here got a video of it. They posted it to YouTube, so if you wanted to see it in action, you absolutely can. And they say here you'll get to play it sooner or later. Don't be a nuisance or a menace, please. And that is very exciting news. Next up, we're talking about Red Barrels, the company behind the Outlast series. And they say here on their website, the Red Barrels team regrets to announce that its internal IT systems were recently impacted by a cybersecurity event. and apparently it's about 1.8 terabytes in size and contains the source code for Outlast 1 and Outlast 2. So in this statement, they say, with the investigation now completed and the security event contained, we want to reassure you that our players have not been impacted by the event. We appreciate the support of our incredible community as we focus on the future of the Outlast trials. Now, the big thing here for gamers is that they say, with the investigation now completed and the security event contained, we want to reassure you that our players have not been impacted by the event. From my understanding, the data is being held hostage, and I don't know if the Red Barrels is going to pay. If they don't, I'm assuming that source code will be released to the public or possibly sold to another company. Who knows? And speaking about source code, next up we're quickly talking about Xbox One and Series X game backups. And here is the latest update. They say massive update to the Xbox game dumping pack. This makes dumping games on Xbox One and Series much less painful with a menu. And they have provided a screenshot of what that new menu looks like. Moving on, and next up we're talking about Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. If you're excited about this game and wanted to avoid spoilers, you may want to avoid searching for gameplay videos of it on YouTube. Early copies have already leaked for this game and videos are already up. This person here has 30 plus minutes of gameplay. I don't know how long that video is going to stay up for, but at the same time here, videos of this game keep popping up. So if you want to avoid spoilers, again, be careful on social media. And realistically, you're not going to have to wait too long because this game does release on October 10th, and I'm assuming review embargoes are going to be out pretty soon too, but who knows. Let me know your thoughts about this one. Are you a fan of Dragon Ball? Or are you looking forward to Dragon Ball Sparking Zero? I know I am. And speaking about games that haven't released yet, next up we're talking about Royal Revolt Warriors. This game has popped up on Steam. There is a demo available, and it looks pretty interesting. The developer behind this one says it's a top-down roguelite game that combines intense survivor-style combat with deep, engaging gameplay and high replayability. I am hoping this is not one of those free-to-play games. I mean, the graphics kind of scream that. But at the same time here, if it's not, it looks like it could be highly entertaining. I'm just not a fan of free-to-play games. And speaking about Rogue, next up here we're talking about a game that might be oddly familiar to you, and this one's called Rogue FP. They say it's a blend of old-school gameplay and new-school controls. Experience a classically styled roguelike in a way you've never have before. For those who may not be aware, this is an indie game based on the original Rogue, and well, this looks very interesting and I'm probably going to try it out. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. And last up here, we're talking about the Steam Deck, and it appears that someone got macOS up and running on the Steam Deck. Now, there is no GPU support on this one, so they can't rotate the screen or anything, but at the same time here, this is pretty cool. I don't want to say it doesn't make any sense to do this, but at the same time, well, at least it's pretty cool. I'll be honest here when I say I'm very curious to see where this goes from here. If they do implement GPU support, if they do try to make a macOS environment on the Steam Deck, who the heck knows? Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you liked this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.